What's up, Liron here, and today I'm giving you a sketchbook tour of my Canson Montval Sketchbook. Let's get started. What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another video. Today I'm giving you a sketchbook tour of my Canson Montval Sketchbook right here, but before we get into that, do you recognize this fella? So, as some of you may know, this is Joseph Zbukvich, one of my favorite all-time watercolor painters, and I decided to make a painting of his, the Z-Master himself. I hope he sees it. I send it over via Instagram, and I'll happily send him the original painting. I just hope he sees it. So yeah, this is just something cool. I have recorded the entire process, and I will share it in another video. But anyway, let's go back to our sketchbook tour. So this is, again, my Canson Montval sketchbook. This one, it's the best quality of sketchbook I found that is not cotton paper. This is pulp paper. It's the one downside of this one, but it is 300 grams. It is acid-free, so it's a relatively good quality, and I enjoy it a lot. You just have to learn how to work with it to make sure that you're able to glaze and not pick up the previous wash, like oftentimes happens with these cheaper or I don't want to say cheaper, but simpler papers that aren't 100% cotton. Okay, so there are many sketches and paintings here that I think you'll really enjoy, and that will give you a good insight as to the work that is possible to achieve on this kind of a small size and paper, as well as maybe my trajectory and my development as an artist in the last year or so. So I think there's a lot of beneficial information here, and I just hope you'll enjoy looking at the artwork. So with that being said, let's get started. I got my Canson Montval watercolor sketchbook. First off, we have this painting that I based off of an aerial photo that I got online. And I know many of you may be familiar with some of the work in the sketchbook just because I showed it to you on Instagram or even here on YouTube on different occasions. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. I think the shadows here work really well. Light obviously coming from behind us. There's a good sense of the scale of the scene, and I just love the way it looks. It's just a nice, calm, relaxing scene. So here we have a scene from my hometown, actually. This is where I grew up, where my parents still live. This is like the community center, so you have like dancing classes, different recreational activities, different things for kids like karate, all sorts of things. Here we have a small park. The library is to the left. So it's just a nice place. I actually have an older picture of this same, an older painting story of this same scene, and I can definitely tell the progress I've made in how I treated the composition and the foreground and many different things here. So now we get into the Florence series. So these are paintings that I did when I was in Florence, and this one I actually did just a few hours after getting to the city. We just got to our Airbnb, and I just sat down next to a fountain, obviously, and painted this real quick. And the spontaneity here and the quickness of how I created this, I think have led to many good things, like the usage of red here that I wouldn't have thought of had I worked inside on this. Just a lot of bold moves. And again, it's a very quick sketch. There's a small awning here. It's a very quick sketch. It could have definitely been something more polished and finalized, but it has a lot of the on-location magic in it, which I love. I think it's one of the most important components when working on location. Another one that I did real quick, this was where my clip was, the large bulldog clip, so I couldn't paint over that section. Again, I think the composition here works well. Very good simplification. You get enough information to figure out what you're looking at and kind of the style of architecture. There was a cafe here, a few people, the arches. So I think a lot of good things in this scene. Probably would have placed another person in the closer foreground had I done it again. This was the view from our apartment, from the Airbnb. I'm very happy with how it turned out, but the thing is I couldn't push this shadow to be as dark as I wanted it to. I don't know why, I don't remember. The blue I was using was too gentle. And also just I didn't mix it well enough. So this is all in the shadow and it's supposed to be significantly darker. But what I will say is I love the way I did this one. Just generally speaking, I love this. Here's another one I did at a cafe. I just love the way these three buildings appeared in front of me, and I wanted to capture that. It was actually a huge scene. This is just a very small part of a group of three buildings that I wanted to capture. This is, I believe, one of the people who looked at this one. This is their favorite. I don't remember what museum it was, but some kind of art museum. Like paintings and sculptures, and not modern, like classic art museum. This was the view from one of the windows, and there are a lot of large windows there, and with fantastic view. So I took a lot of pictures. This one was done based on a picture. I actually have a larger, not much larger, but just double the size painting. That's a more finalized. It's actually we put it here on one of the walls in the apartment. Next up, okay, so this is back in Israel, in Tel Aviv. There's this weird, I don't know, it's a warehouse and a fence scene here in South Tel Aviv, and it captured me, so I stopped and painted it. And I like the result. It's not the best it could be. There's a lot to work on, but overall, I'm pleased with it. And here, this was done right after this one. So it was a parking lot behind me, and then I just turned around and painted one of the Mazdas there. So you can obviously, I hope, recognize that's a Mazda 3, bit of an old car. And I'm just very happy with how this turned out, because you can tell what car it is, and I'm always happy that I know my impression was good enough to recognize the car. Also, the colors I think work really well. Yellow and purple kind of are complementary, so it just looks good together in my opinion. So here, this is something I talked about a few times before. This was the preparatory sketch for the larger painting that I did of this scene for the IWS competition, which I updated you briefly on. I actually, this painting won the right to be shown in the exhibition, so I'm very happy with it. This was the smaller sketch that I did as a preparation. Very happy with this one. I love how the people are contrasted with the background. I just love the way I built the scene. There's a variety of people, which is always interesting to see. So that's I think just a good concept and a good painting. So here we have some scribbles from the paint show. This was Winsor Blue by Winsor Newton. This is a study I did of a painting of Michael Reardon. Very happy with how this turned out. The thing that I learned most, I'd say the most significant thing I learned thanks to this study was how much experience goes into these paintings. Because I felt really like I was doing my best, and this is a bit of a smaller size than the original one, and still, when I look back at the original, I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of nuances there with the light and shadow. Like, I pushed the contrast to be a little stronger than the original painting, not because of choice, but because of lack of experience. This shouldn't be as dark as it is, also here as well. So I think he created a better sense of depth and scale. But I also did a pretty good job with this one. It just helped me appreciate how much work goes into these. So in any case, this is just a quick playing around with some paint. This is a painting I did real quick outside. I'm not happy with the impression. There was far in the distance cityscape, then some fields and crops, and that's where me and my friends sat down. It's okay, it's not like crazy. This is a pen study based on a Joseph Zbukvich painting that if you're a fanboy of Joseph Z like me, you probably recognize the painting. It's in Paris. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I tried preserving how he connects the different layers of paint. I just try to create that impression with the pen and ink. I also have a video, I believe, showing this sketching process, so just very happy with how this one turned out. So here we have some more paint show. This was when I reviewed Indian Yellow by SAA. Very happy with this small, tiny sketch. Take a look at this. It's really small. Then we did the My Mary Venetia, Permanent Red Deep. That's a student grade. Played around with some mixes here. Now here I have the same building. One time with watercolor, one time with pen and ink. This was for a project I did. It's not that interesting and it didn't come to fruition eventually, but I just did a study of buildings here in Tel Aviv. This is a rather famous one. It's called the Train House, I believe, because it has a shape, or a boat house, sorry, because it has the shape of a boat. If you look at it just up top, it's a very old building in Tel Aviv, and this is a very distinct style of these old buildings. So this is the watercolor version. Very happy with the shadows. The diagonal lines here I think work really well. Here we have the paint show Pyro Scarlet by Daniel Smith, I believe, yes. I love this paint. This is some plans that I did for the exhibition. This is actually Hebrew. This is another thing. Okay, so this is a painting I did based on a photo I used from Wet Canvas, I believe, just the painting forum. They have this huge reference photo library. Very quick, nothing too special about this one. Would have done it a lot significantly differently. But this was when I first learned that you can connect shadows a little more. And I started applying it, so you can see all of this shadow is connected. It's one big shape with some variation in it to make it interesting, which I'm very happy about. Okay, so this is something interesting. When it comes to pen sketching or pencil sketching, I can just grab it and go on intuition and sketch whatever I see and enjoy it. I didn't have the same level of freedom and looseness with watercolor. I always psychologically made it a big deal. So this was a part of me trying to loosen up from that and feel a little more comfortable with the medium, with being more spontaneous with it. So I did just a few sketches of boats, a person, a cube, just off the cuff, based on no photo reference at all. I know some people may find this amazing, considering it wasn't based on a reference photo, but take into consideration that I've been doing like drawing for 20-something years, ever since I can remember myself. So the painting part came a little easier. So never compare yourself to others, just saying. So here we have two studies by Alvaro Castanet. The first I did this pen sketch just like the one of Joseph Zbukvich, and then I decided to do a watercolor painting as well as a study of this one. Now, not necessarily the best result, but a very good one in my opinion, a very solid study, and I learned a lot about how he approaches stuff, how he connects the shadows here in the background behind the people. And yeah, I would like to avoid having my people look like that. Ultimately, I do want to create my own style for that. I know a lot of Zbukvich and Castanet's people look the same, and I don't like that. They're all walking forward, or they all look a little threatening. So yeah, this is just a few sketches I did in the boulevard here, Rothschild Boulevard, of cars. I love cars, as you know. This is another painting I did on the boulevard. It was the same day, I believe. Very warm color scheme, which I love. I think it works really well, and I just think it creates a bit of interest. It looks like sunset, even though it wasn't, which I love. I love the atmosphere here. Cadmium Yellow Hue by Cotman, Winsor Newton Cotman, the student grade line, not the artist grade. Here I did a study with the Lamp Black, also by Cotman. So this is student grade, not artist grade, but it does go to show you that if you know how to use your material, you can get decent results. I actually have a video of this process here on YouTube, on Instagram as well. And I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I think this is a solid study, lots of variations in the values, good contrast. I nailed the values pretty much. And so a good impression is made, and it just shows you how quickly you can do that. Next up, we have a black and white painting as a preparation for a larger painting, I believe, but then I didn't create a larger painting. This is based on a photo I took in Eilat, which is the southernmost city here in Israel. It's a very touristic destination, so there's the docks here, tons of hotels next to the beach. It's a nice place. It's very hot there. It's way too hot. It's like an oven. You open the door of the hotel to walk outside, and it's literally like you feel like you walk into an oven. This is Golden by White Knight, St. Petersburg. Very a paint that I love a lot. The thing is, it is a bit not light fast. It's a bit fugitive, so I don't use it as much today. Just used it for fun. This little sketch got a lot of love on Instagram, and I can see why. I think the colors work really well. There's a lot of secondary colors, so you have a lot of purples and oranges and greens, and they're all rooted in the same three primary colors, which I don't remember. I believe it's phthalo blue, probably something like an alizarin crimson, or maybe a bit of burnt sienna, and yellow, kind of a Hansa yellow. So using the same three primaries will lead to a harmonious result and a color scheme that works, which is why I always recommend using a minimal palette, because you don't need to think about it too much and the result looks better. So very happy with it. I think I conveyed the textures of the different elements really well. This is a value study that I did, just practicing achieving different values from light to dark, trying to open up my nuanced recognition of values, which is a bit of a challenge. And I believe this is it. So I have 2 pages left in this one. I may come back to it at some point and fill them up. And yeah, this is. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Just letting you have a last look at this before I wrap it up. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to learn how to draw like me, okay, check out the link in the description box below to my beginner's drawing course. I still don't have a watercolor course that I would consider proper for beginners on the basics of watercolor. I do have a few beginner to intermediate courses on Udemy, but on my own platform, on my own website, I don't have a watercolor course yet. I do plan for it as one of my projects for 2019. But I do have a drawing course. So if you feel like drawing is your weakness, or it's something that hurts your paintings, or it's just something you do completely separately and you want to improve, definitely check it out. Link in the description box below. The same way, my approach, a very eye-level kind of teaching, and very simple and straightforward. And a lot of people have been contacting me, letting me know via email and Instagram and all sorts of ways that they have found it incredibly helpful, and they're finally having a breakthrough. So this is it. Thank you so much for watching, and now we can wrap up this video. So this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of the sketches inside here. Maybe it gives you a good insight as to my style as it changes and shifts, the things I enjoy focusing on. I think the one thing that could be a major insight for many people is the sketches that I did with no reference photo, with nothing, just from straight imagination, because it is an important shift that I went through with sketching, and it, I think, really took me to the next level, the ability to just sketch and enjoy it without trying to do anything, without making it into a big deal. Now, of course, watercolor takes a little more preparation, a little more materials. It's less straightforward than just pencil, but I do think you can get in the mindset of it's just simply creating and I'm just gonna get started. So this is something I wanted to train myself to do, because what a lot of people make the mistake of putting too much pressure on themselves, of this painting should be perfect, and then they do all the preparation. Then when they get started, they're so scared and timid, they can't bring themselves to push the values to be darker, to take some risks, to be more bold with their brushwork. So I think it's a shame, and it shouldn't be the reason, okay? Let's say lack of skill should be the reason for these things, not the internal psychological reasons, which is why I recommend loosening up that way. A sketchbook is the perfect way to do that and to capture these sessions of loosening up and learning new things and trying out new techniques and new ways of doing things. So in any case, I want to thank you so much. And again, as I mentioned, if you want to learn how to draw like I show you here, be sure to check out the link in the description box below. I think it's the first link. It's going to be for my drawing course on my website, which is, I think, the best way, because you get access to me and you can email me freely if you have any questions or if you need feedback, and I'll be happy to help. I'm now accepting credit card and PayPal, so you can choose whichever you prefer. What else was important? It's just my approach condensed into a course, okay? So if you enjoy the more laid back, eye-level kind of explanations, then I think you'll find it very helpful. So in any case, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in another vid real soon.